Ladies and gentlemen, folks, these are exciting times because football season's back. It's back. We have football. It's 2021. Today is Monday, September 13th. We just had the first week of games. I'll get to my opinions on my team at the end of this episode because unfortunately we had the unfortunate privilege of playing Sunday night football on primetime, and it was a complete embarrassment. But we'll get to that. Welcome back to season 2 of First and Ben. We officially launched season 2 of First and Ben in the preseason. This is going to be our first ever episode in this format of the actual show during the regular season. Normally, like I've stated in the past, this would be a live streamed show on the Facebook page. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too tough for me to go ahead and do that right now. My schedule's all over the place. So we are going to be moving into the podcast format that we've done all of our work at keeping up with the BS on. I'm very happy to bring First and Ben back. Very happy that football is back. And before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to our not official sponsor, but could be. I just want to go ahead and give a big shout out to Busch Light. Drank a lot of Busch Light this weekend. Had a great time. Great football games. That was the official drink of First and Ben this weekend, and it could be moving forward. That's all it takes is Busch Light. Hey, reach out. I'll reach out to you. Let's work on something. But anyways, drink Busch Light. It's great. Gives you a great time. Usually really affordable at the stores. You're having a big party like I did the last couple days, even with college football. You're having a big party. Busch Light's the way to go. You can't go wrong with that. Going into our regular season games, this is just exciting. This is my favorite time of the year. Thursday night football this week was the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Dallas Cowboys. The Bucs only won this one by 2. It was 31-29, and I actually don't like how close it was. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you got to be ecstatic playing the Bucs that close. But if you're a Bucs fan, I'd be a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. I would be just a little bit concerned. Brady played great, 379 yards. Dude almost threw for 400 yards. This was a passer's game by far. Both running games were almost non-existent. Brady had the 4 touchdowns, 2 receptions. Dak Prescott, I believe, throwing over 400 yards. That's incredible. Good for him coming back from a season-ending injury last year. I know I'm not the biggest Dallas Cowboys fan, and a lot of my friends and a lot of the people that follow this show that you guys don't like the Cowboys, and I don't blame you one bit. But wow, that's all I can say is wow. As far as Tampa Bay goes, if the Bucs are about to get in 2021 the Pittsburgh Steelers version of Antonio Brown, the rest of the NFL is in a lot of trouble. Antonio Brown finished with 5 receptions out of 7 targets, 121 yards and 1 touchdown. And even Gronk had 2 touchdowns of his own. So Tom Brady going to the guys that he trusts, that he's played with in the past before in week 1. Chris Godwin brought in a touchdown catch. As a fantasy owner of Mike Evans, I just want to say thank you to Tom Brady for completely ignoring him, making me struggle this week. I'm in a close one. And we're just going to have to go ahead and see what that does for my fantasy team. But you folks don't listen to First and Ben for my fantasy team, so I won't talk too much about that. Anyways, Chris Godwin is the number 1 receiver in Tampa Bay. As far as between him and Mike Evans, I don't think that's been close. I think that Chris Godwin deserves better than the franchise tag this year, and he's going to go get paid this offseason. We've talked about that before. I know it's week 1. I don't like to make season definition statements. Choose your wording for that. I don't like to make season predictions, let's say that, based on week 1 performance, but in this case I will. Ezekiel Elliott is washed. I'm sorry, that's a hot take. Ezekiel Elliott is washed up. The $90 million man is getting paid to have good blocks. Dude's averaging $15 million a year to have good blocks. Okay. I know this was not a rush first game, and this was all about air raid offenses, but 11 carries for 33 yards. Wow. That's really, really bad. But what happened to this great offensive line that Dallas was supposed to have this year? Oh, that's right. Lael Collins just took a 5-game suspension for abusing the league policy on performance-enhancing drugs, or substance abuse, whatever the wording for that terminology is now. But Tony Pollard he probably looked better than Ezekiel Elliott the other night, which is really sad. Ezekiel Elliott once again looking like a terrible fantasy option, even though everyone took him in the first round. So that's rough, buddy. I'm sorry about that, but if the Cowboys are going to have any success this year, it is going to be between Dak Prescott and that air raid offense, because, oh my goodness, Dallas's top 2 receivers balled out, and they were the workhorse that night. Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper had 13 receptions, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then CeeDee Lamb, 7 receptions, 140 yards, 1 touchdown. Like, you can't go wrong with either of those guys. I'm pretty sure both guys put up 30-plus points on fantasy. One of those guys is going to put up 30-plus probably weekly. I don't want to say that because I know I'll get some heat for that, but it's not a bad bet for one of those guys to put up 30. And Dallas' defense actually outshines what everybody thought would be the league best, in my opinion. Dallas forced 4 Buccaneers turnovers. They recovered 2 fumbles and they had 2 interceptions to the Tampa Bay 1 turnover, which was a Carlton Davis interception. It's not often a team turns the ball over 4 times and still wins the football game. And I think that's evident in the final score that Tampa I don't want to say they wanted it more, because I think Dallas wanted it, but they just the game took a Tampa Bay kick or roll. Yeah, the game took a Tampa Bay roll. It was close. I'm very surprised at how close that game was. I thought that Tampa Bay was going to win that game by double digits. I even talked to many people. I said, how bad do you think the Bucs are going to win tonight? And then the next game on the docket that surprised the living hell out of me, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. 23-16 Pittsburgh. Again, that's all I can say is wow of this one. No disrespect to Tampa Bay's defense, but Pittsburgh's defense just proved in this game why they are far and away the best in the NFL this year. The 7 passes defended, 4 forced fumbles. Granted, they didn't recover all of them, but they still forced 4 fumbles, all while keeping Josh Allen in check, who just signed that massive contract extension this offseason. Josh Allen only throwing 30 for 51, 270 yards, a single touchdown, no picks. But they also did a great job keeping Stephon Diggs in check too, with 9 receptions, 69 yards, and no touchdowns. It's really sad if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, because this was a 7-point game, and ultimately what this game came down to was the blocked punt that resulted in the ball going the other way for a Pittsburgh touchdown in the end zone. Like, that was the difference maker. Defense wins championships and defense wins big games. That's the same of this game. That's the same of other games that took place today. Pittsburgh's defense is just very good. And this all coming just days after TJ Watt signed that massive extension himself, becoming, I believe, the highest paid defensive lineman in football. It's either defensive lineman or defender in football. Can't remember the correct verbiage on that. Ben Roethlisberger played average. He didn't shine. He didn't look great, but that's all Pittsburgh needs from Ben Roethlisberger this year, is to not suck. And he didn't. 188 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Big Ben played about as great as you could ask him to. Najee Harris, there's some concern there in his rookie debut, but I don't think it's going to be anything to worry about moving forward. Mike Tomlin gave him the ball 16 times. He only got 45 yards. Granted, Buffalo has a good run defense, but I mean, I would have liked to have seen more from Najee Harris yesterday rather than making the defense do all the work. I don't think that you can rely on the defense for 17 games this year. I mean, Buffalo was up 10-0 at one point. Pittsburgh's defense stepped up and held them to 6 points the rest of the way. You got to have some kind of answer there. So Najee Harris has to step up if Pittsburgh's going to get something going. Great win for the Steelers. Not going to discredit that. Not going to take anything away from them on that one. I know I, amongst many people, probably the vast majority of people in the country, let alone the world, thought that Buffalo was going to roll Pittsburgh in this game. So good on them. Overall, like I said, Pittsburgh fought back from being down 10-0 at one point to force Buffalo into many 3-and-outs, and finally they took advantage of it. It's a tough pill to swallow for Bills fans who have serious Super Bowl aspirations this year. It's sad. It's really sad because I like Josh Allen, great guy. I was one of the people that bashed on Josh Allen coming out of college. I didn't think he was going to be great. So I want to eat my words. I want Josh Allen to play well in the league. I want to see him succeed. And I think it'd be great to see the Bills get to the Super Bowl. Moving down to, well, I guess since I'm in Orlando, moving up to Atlanta. This game was a dumpster fire for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles and their offensive breakout in this game. You know, Eagles fans, you guys have endured a lot of shit over the last couple of years, and you finally got a game it was fun to watch your offense. Like Jalen Hurts came out and looked like the real deal. And I guess it also helps that the Atlanta Falcons are just a terrible football team, literally overall, like all around a bad football team. And Arthur Smith, the genius behind the Tennessee Titans revamped offense the last couple of years, not even he can fix that. One guy can't fix it. You need players. And we'll get to Matt Ryan. I want to talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit. He looked like I said, he looks like the real deal. I think Eagles fans can rest easy and breathe a big sigh of relief that they made the right call with the Carson Wentz trade to Indianapolis. I know that the more Carson Wentz plays, the more likely it is that Philly is going to get a first-round pick out of that trade, or maybe not first-round pick. I can't remember the correct, but the draft pick will get better. I can't remember what the draft pick was, but the draft pick will get better. Jalen Hurts himself, though, throwing 27 for 35, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and he also carried the ball 7 times for 62 yards. I'm sorry about that. Not 72 times. That would be ridiculous. He connected with former college teammate and Heisman Trophy winner Devonta Smith in some key situations. That was great to see for former teammates, not only because I have Devonta Smith on my fantasy team, but because that's what you expect. That's what Philly fans expected when they drafted Devonta Smith, traded up for him, and took him. Smith himself, he had 6 receptions out of 8 targets, 71 yards and a touchdown. Had a great touchdown. I went crazy during that touchdown. I love to see it. Javon Hargrave, probably the defensive player of the game in this one. He took a huge step in year 2 in Philly's defense this weekend. He had 6 tackles total, 3 solo and 3 assists. And he had 2 sacks yesterday, already halfway to his 2020 total. He had 4.5 in all of last season. He's already got 2 right now. So I think it's going to be really fun to see him, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham down in that defensive front. I think that's a very good defensive front. And the Eagles are showing maybe they aren't going to be a 3-14 team this year. Maybe they, with how bad the NFC East is, they look like contenders right now. And I know that's the Falcons, not taking anything away from the Eagles, but it is the Falcons. So let's get to week 2. The Atlanta Falcons, though, they are in for a long season, and perhaps they're the ones that we should have mocked to go 0-16. I know I myself mocked the Houston Texans to go that route, and Matt Ryan is showing his age. He's showing that he looks like he's on the older side of his 30s. You know, at 36 years old, he threw 21 for 35. He didn't have to throw the ball a lot, but he only got 164 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And that's really sad considering he's got 2 really great players that can catch. It's a receiver and a tight end, so I don't want to say receivers. But Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts are great cornerstones for the Falcons to build around moving beyond 2021. But the stats did suffer yesterday. Ridley only having 51 yards and Pitts only having 31. That comes at a combination of Matt Ryan having such a bad game and how bad Atlanta's offensive line is. So Falcons fans, you guys should just enjoy being in on Spencer Rattler all year. Just watch Oklahoma on Saturdays. Don't even tune in on Sundays. Just Trust me, when you get the first pick next year, Spencer Rattler out of Oklahoma. Speaking of first-round picks, the Trevor Lawrence era got off to a really rocky start. It sucks, man. It really sucks. The Jags found themselves down 27-7 at the half to the Houston Texans, who many of us thought were going to be lucky to win one game this year. This might be that one game that they win. Trevor Lawrence himself, though, if you take away the interceptions, that's a great game. I mean, Urban Meyer made him throw way too many times for his first game. He threw the ball 51 times, only connected 28 times. Yes, he had 332 yards and 3 touchdowns, but those 3 interceptions suck, man, especially when 2 of them were in the same quarter, that second quarter. I was very surprised to see James Robinson take a back seat to Carlos Hyde in Urban Meyer's first game as head coach, especially after that great season he had last year, rushing over 1,000 yards, tying David Montgomery for 5th in the league. But yesterday, I should say, he only had 5 carries for 25 yards. That's not great. And I don't know what was going on there. I don't know, maybe there's some injury that we don't know about, but Carlos Hyde, just 4 years ago, Carlos Hyde has me excited, but I would have liked to have seen James Robinson get more involved in that offense yesterday. DJ Chark was the clear go-to guy for Trevor Lawrence. Could be that way moving forward. We'll see. Again, it's only week 1, but he did get the majority of the targets at 12. It's just too bad that he only caught 3 of them, and that was for 86 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, 3 out of 12, that's a bad conversion rate for receiving. And then the Houston Texans just, wow, who saw this coming? Tyrod Taylor coming out as starter with Deshaun Watson not being played by the Texans, with everything going on with Deshaun Watson. I don't want to spend time talking about him. I just don't want to talk about Deshaun Watson. Tyrod Taylor, though, 21 for 33, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. That's a great line. Tyrod Taylor deserves it after what happened to him with the Chargers, how he lost his starting position there. That sucks. This guy deserved it. This guy deserved to have a week 1 game like that. And Mark Ingram finally provides Houston with, you know what? Screw it. Mark Ingram finally provides Houston with an RB1. He's running back 1. David Johnson non-existent anymore. Ever since David Johnson left Arizona, the dude is not good anymore. Mark Ingram, he got the ball 26 times. 85 yards, sure, I'll take it. And a touchdown, gladly I'll take it, especially with the team win. And Brandon Cooks looked very good yesterday as well. He had 5 receptions, 132 yards, no touchdowns, but they still won the game, and he looked really good. So moving forward, it's going to be interesting to watch this Jacksonville team because of Urban Meyer at head coach and Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, both first-timers in the league. They've got some serious offensive issues they're going to have to work out if they're going to be competitive this year. Lawrence throwing 300 yards a game doesn't mean anything if the defense gets you out of the game by halftime, like the 27-7 deficit. Like, I'm sorry. It's great for fantasy, but fantasy doesn't get you contract extensions, more money in a contract. It sucks. It sucks, man. I was really hoping the Jags would pull it out. Next game, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Washington Football Team. As a Ryan Fitzpatrick fantasy owner and Chicago Bears fan, I would just like to once again point out that left tackle Charles Leno Jr. is complete trash, and he has been since 2018 when he made the Pro Bowl. He's been terrible since then. This guy got Ryan Fitzpatrick absolutely murdered yesterday. He completely missed a block. Dude shot in right off the line and just absolutely wrecked Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now he's going on the IR. We just heard, it just came out before the start of this podcast that breaking news, I guess you could say. Ryan Fitzpatrick is going on IR with a right hip injury. That's what he left the game for yesterday. It didn't look that bad at first. He was able to walk off. Yeah, he was limping, but he was walking off the field to the locker room. Today, we found out that he is going on the IR, which next begs the question, is Tyler Heinicke the answer at quarterback? This is what the football team did down the stretch last year with Heinicke. He went 11 for 15 once he came in for 122 yards, a touchdown, no picks. But Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas's stats also took a hit after the expected change at quarterback. McLaurin had 4 receptions, 62 yards, no touchdowns. Thomas, 3 receptions, 30 yards, 1 touchdown. The football team should have won this game, plain and simple. They really should have. But Justin Herbert, over on the Chargers sideline, he did play well enough to carry over from his 2020 rookie season. He went 31 for 47, 337 yards, a touchdown. Yeah, he had a pick, but, I mean, still, I'll take that. He could have probably gotten some more, but that just speaks volumes of Washington's defense. Keenan Allen also had a 100-yard receiving day. Didn't have any touchdowns, but he did catch the ball 9 times. But, you know, as a Bears fan, I feel bad for the football team because this is what happened to us. Washington's defense is way too good, and it deserves better for how well they played yesterday in the second half. They should have won this game. The offense couldn't get anything going. This is what we as Bears fans have been used to for the last 3 years. They forced 2 Chargers turnovers, 1 fumble and a pick on LA's 4 total second half possessions. They took the ball away 50% of the time from the Chargers in the second half. Washington's offense just couldn't score again after the opening drive of the third quarter, which when you can't do anything the rest of the game after the first drive out of the half, you're not going to win the football game. I'm sorry, that's plain and simple. And the nail in the coffin was just Antonio Gibson fumbling on his own 3-yard line, which was recovered by the Chargers to set up the win. It's a brutal way to lose, man. That's the way football goes sometimes. If you lose the ball on your own 3-yard line in a close game, it's going to lose you the game. So now with this Fitzpatrick injury and the fact that he's going on IR, and with how bad the NFC East is, the Washington football team has the best defense in the division. I think with the right tools, they could have the best offense. We have to ask the question of ourselves, with the Patriots releasing Cam Newton last week and with the success and experience Cam Newton has with Ron Rivera as his head coach, it fills an obvious need at quarterback. I believe that Cam Newton is better than Taylor Heinicke. I think that Cam Newton should be on the Washington football team before Wednesday. It's now Monday at 2:30 in the afternoon. He should be on the team before Wednesday. I don't think that it's hard. I think that the obvious fit is there. And Cam Newton doesn't deserve to be done just because of Mac Jones. I'm sorry. Even though I think that Mac Jones is better, and I'll talk about that later, I don't think he deserves to be done because of Mac Jones. The Seattle Seahawks and the Indianapolis Colts, that game, it was about a 2-score game. It was 28-16 Seahawks. It was all Seattle in this one, no matter what the score was. The Seahawks just jumped out in front way too early. Excuse me. Three of their first 4 drives. Say that 5 times fast. You'll have just as much time talking as I am. 3 of their first 4 drives ended in a touchdown, including just over a 2-minute 6-play drive that ended in a 69-yard touchdown grab for Tyler Lockett from Russell Wilson. And then you combine that with the fact that the Colts just managed 1 successful drive in the second half of their total of 6. One touchdown in the second half out of 6 drives. The other drives, 2 punts, a fumble lost, a turnover on downs, and the 5th one was just the end of the game. Indianapolis has to be better, man. Come on. You've got to be better than that if you're playing a good team like the Seahawks. You can't go 1 for 6 in the second half. You were lucky to get 6 drives in the second half. You should have won this football game. But that's the way she goes sometimes. Russell Wilson, of course, looked like Russell Wilson. 18 for 23, 254 yards, 4 touchdown passes, no picks. What was surprising, though, was the fact that DK Metcalf, everybody was high on him this year. He took a back seat to Tyler Lockett. They both had 4 receptions with 5 targets. Metcalf had 60 yards. Lockett had 100 yards. Granted, that has a lot to do with that 69-yard grab from Wilson earlier in the game. And Metcalf had a touchdown and Lockett had 2. So fantasy-wise, Lockett has always been a solid option for Seattle. I know everyone was high on Metcalf this year. That's just something to watch. But in terms of Seattle on the field, that's dangerous. That might be one of the best 1-2 punches at receiver in the league right now. Carson Wentz did look solid in his Colts debut. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Carson Wentz sucked. I'm not going to sit and tell you that Carson Wentz is not good anymore, because he did throw 25 for 38. He threw over 250 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and no picks. Carson Wentz played pretty darn good. But T.Y. Hilton's presence was definitely missed, considering the fact that 2 running backs, Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, were the leading receivers for the Colts yesterday. And they had the majority of the targets too. What really, really sucks about how the Colts played yesterday and what looks bad on Carson Wentz is because the fumble loss that we talked about earlier, it was on a 4th and 1. Carson was diving to pick up the first down, and he fumbled the ball away, and Seattle recovered it. So Indianapolis, they just dug themselves a deep hole way too early enough, with Seattle having great first half success. They just couldn't put together a second half to be able to mount a comeback. And that, I know I've said this a lot today, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. It's nobody's fault. The offense just has to play better. The offense has to play 60 minutes of football, not 30. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, Colts fans. You got Frank Reich, you got Carson Wentz. That's where the success was for the Eagles. You figure it out. It's only week 1. You get T.Y. Hilton back. Just relax. Just relax. Seahawks are a good team. The Sam Darnold revenge game. The New York Jets traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Panthers only won this one by 5. It was 19-14 final. Darnold looked good. He had 279 yards. He threw a touchdown. He ran for a touchdown. There were Carolina's 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey reminding everybody why he was the unanimous number 1 overall pick in everybody's fantasy leagues, apparently except the 2 that I'm in this year. He broke out, man. He really broke out. 187 total yards, 98 of them rushing and 89 of them receiving. Just wow. The ability that this guy has to not only kill you on the ground, but also be a pass-catching running back. Matt Rule is spoiled having CMC on his team. He's very spoiled, and he's just way too good, man. If he can stay healthy, that's not my only issue. He's got to put together a 17-game season. He's just gotta. The Jets offense, I will say, even in a loss, it was a close loss. They looked a lot better under Robert Saleh than they ever did under Adam Gase. The Jets may be back. Are the Jets back? It could be. Zach Wilson's not as bad as I thought he was going to be. You know, he threw for 258 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and only a pick. The pick sucks, but the chemistry that he has with Corey Davis, who had 97 yards and both of Zach Wilson's touchdowns, that could be something to watch moving forward. It really could. Zach Wilson to Corey Davis. Corey Davis coming over from the Jets after being a free agent from the Titans. Corey Davis might revive his career in New York, and it's going to pay off dividends for Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson. The issue here is, again, same as the Colts game. New York dug itself a 16-0 deficit at the half and had to climb back in the second. It's tough. That's a lot to ask out of a rookie quarterback in his first ever regular season game. And he almost did it. So credit to Zach Wilson. And you know what? Credit to the New York defense. Robert Saleh is a big defensive guy. They held the Carolina Panthers to just 3 points in the second half. That's a major improvement. Major improvement. Going 2 out of 5 and punting the other 3 drives in the second half kills an offense, unfortunately. And that's why the Carolina Panthers won this game. The Jets had it. The Jets could have managed to pull this off. They didn't. Plain and simple. This one was one of the more surprising upsets of the day. Not the upset of the day, but one of the more surprising upsets. This was the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, the Bengals winning 27-24 in overtime. And you know what? Minnesota did most things right in this game, but it ultimately, I don't want to say it came down to, but the way that the game transpired, it came down to an iffy upheld fumble being Our fumble recovery by the Bengals being upheld in overtime paved the way for the Bengals to claim the major upset. I don't like blaming officials for losses anymore as I've matured and gotten to watch football more, played football more, and understand what the game does, what the players do, everything that goes into the game of football. I don't like to blame the officials anymore, so I'm not going to in this instance. Minnesota found themselves down 21-7 at one point. And while, yes, the Vikings came back to force an overtime, if you want to win the football game, don't get down 21-7. You know, no disrespect to the Vikings, the defense got better, but Joe Burrow just came out and looked like Joe Burrow. It's like the ACL thing never happened, which is good for the Bengals. That's great if you're a Bengals fan. It just, what also sucks is the Vikings had a selfish, unnecessary roughness penalty on their first drive of the third quarter, which killed that drive. So that could have been a drive where you could have ended it in 3 or 7, and you wouldn't have had to have forced an overtime. That could have been it. There's just a lot of things that you can point to in a football game that you can't blame everything on the refs maybe missing a call in overtime when you could have prevented the game from going to overtime. Either way, the Vikings offense played great despite the early deficit. Kirk Cousins throwing for over 350 yards. That just sounds really weird coming out of my mouth. Really weird. He almost threw the ball 50 times. He went 36 for 49 and had 2 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook ran the ball 20 times, 61 yards. It's okay. And he had a touchdown. And then Adam Thielen looking better than Justin Jefferson today. Granted, he got more targets than Justin, but 9 receptions, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Thank you, Kirk Cousins, for having, on behalf of myself, who has Adam Thielen in a fantasy football league, thank you for throwing to Adam Thielen. The defense also took advantage of a really bad Cincinnati offensive line. It's still bad, you guys. They didn't fix it that much. 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. They definitely had their way with the Bengals O-line. What makes the difference here is Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase picked right up where they left off at LSU a couple years ago. Burrow went 20 for 27, didn't even have to throw the ball all that much, and he had 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Ja'Marr Chase, 5 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown, and that includes the 50-yard bomb in the second half. Ultimately, the reason that Burrow didn't have to throw the ball so much was because Joe Mixon had a coming-out party today. Joe Mixon carried the ball 29 times. Joe Mixon ran the ball more than Joe Burrow threw the ball. He ran it for 127 yards and a touchdown. So I know everybody takes a dump on Joe Mixon for being a terrible fantasy football option, but I mean, the proof's right there. I just talked about it. Dang. Just what an upset. I did not expect the Vikings to lose this game. As a Bears fan, I'm glad they did, but as an analyst, I couldn't believe that they lost that game. The reason that wasn't the upset of the day is because this game was the upset of the day. We've got the Arizona Cardinals at the Tennessee Titans. The Cardinals just came in and absolutely whooped the Titans' ass in every aspect of this football game. They dominated. Offense, they dominated. Defense, they dominated. The Titans did not stand a chance. They did not. And it was clear from the get-go that the Titans had no chance. Arizona came out and absolutely just thrashed this team. They were up 24-6 at the half. 24-6. They won the game 38-13, if that tells you anything. Kyler Murray looks like a freaking stud. He had 5 total touchdowns, 4 of them on the air, 1 of them on the ground, only had 1 interception, threw for 289 yards. And this receiving core, man, of DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore, they all had big games yesterday. Rondale Moore had 68 yards. He had the least amount, almost at 70. Kirk did have 70, and then Hopkins at 83. So talk about Kyler Murray spreading the ball around, man. Hopkins and Kirk each had 2 touchdowns each had 2 touchdowns a pair. And Chandler Jones, wow. This guy had to have been the defensive player of the day. Chandler Jones was the MVP of the day, 100%. Put money on it. I would not be surprised if he wins NFL Defensive Player of the Week honors this week because he had 2 forced fumbles, 6 solo tackles, 4 of those for loss, and 5 sacks unassisted. Chandler Jones just put up a video game performance. Like if you were playing a game as the Arizona Cardinals and you were a Cardinals super fan and you turn your players all the way up to 99, Chandler Jones just stepped out of your PlayStation or your Xbox, whatever system you have, and onto the field in Nashville, and he balled out. He exposed Tennessee's weakness at O-line and disrupted any chance at getting the run game established, which, if you've watched the Titans, is how they win football games. Derrick Henry had no shot to get involved, and they buried them so early. You made Ryan Tannehill beat you. You dared Ryan Tannehill to beat you, which there's no air raid offense in Tennessee, even with the addition of Julio Jones, who, might I add, had 3 receptions and 29 yards. That's very lackluster. Maybe he shouldn't have begged so much to get out of Atlanta. When you shut Derrick Henry down this much, you're going to beat the Titans, and the rest of the league just got the blueprint for that in week 1. So we'll see how the Titans end up playing the rest of this year. You got to feel good if you're a Colts fan right now, because even with the Texans' domination of the Jags, I don't think they're going anywhere. This is going to be the Titans and the Colts running neck and neck until week 17. If you're a Colts fan, you have to be very impressed with what you saw yesterday. Moving along to what almost turned into an upset, the San Francisco 49ers at the Detroit Lions. San Francisco only won this game by 8 after being up 41-17 going into the fourth quarter. So you guys say what you will about Dan Campbell and biting people's kneecaps off, but this team does not quit. This team did not quit yesterday, which is not the same that could be said of the past Detroit Lions teams that we are used to. They actually scored the most points out of all the NFC North teams yesterday. 33 did it. Lions scored 33, Minnesota scored 24, Chicago scored 14, and Green Bay scored 3. So the Lions looked like the best team in the division yesterday, which is actually really terrifying. That's really terrifying. Jimmy G, he had 314 yards on 25 passing attempts, only completed 17 of them, 1 touchdown, but it was Trey Lance who stole the show for the 49ers. He came in and did throw for 1 play and 1 play only, a 5-yard touchdown pass to give San Francisco its first points of the season. So if you're a 49ers fan, yeah, you got your first look at Trey Lance. Pretty cool for you guys. I'm all for it. I'm really all for it. As someone who wants Justin Fields to take the field, I'm all for Trey Lance getting in as well, because it's going to make the NFC better. So I'm here for it. Raheem Mostert, I feel so bad for this guy, because what was once a great story for this guy, a great story of a career, is once again being sidelined by injuries. He left the game with a knee injury after just 2 carries. Yeah, 20 yards. Yeah, averaging 10 yards a play in his 2 carries. That's pretty darn good. It just sucks that he got hurt so early. But Elijah Mitchell, the backup, absolutely balled out in Kyle Shanahan's run-heavy offense. And there's no doubt in my mind that he would ball out, because Kyle Shanahan likes to run the ball, and the 49ers can just always kill you on the run game. That's how they do it. They don't need to pass the ball. They can just run it down your throat, and they do that. Deebo Samuel, Deebo Samuel took major precedence over George Kittle today, which is really weird to talk about. Samuel had 9 receptions for 189 yards. He had 1 touchdown, that touchdown being a 79-yard pass from Garoppolo in the third quarter. And George Kittle, only 4 receptions on 5 targets. Samuel got targeted 12 times, by the way, and George Kittle only got targeted 5 times. 78 yards, no touchdowns. Yikes. In a 41-point performance, George Kittle not even getting a touchdown? That's interesting. That's very interesting. The Lions, this might be the only week of the season I talk well about the Lions. We'll see how it plays out. But them falling behind, huge, overshadowed a great game by Jared Goff in his Lions debut. I bash on Jared Goff every chance I get, but I just can't this week. He threw the ball 57 times, you guys. 38 for 57, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 of those touchdowns being in the second half for what was almost a miraculous comeback. And for not having any name recognized wide receivers. I still can't tell you a wide receiver on the Detroit Lions, but this running back duo of Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift is a lot better than I thought. I didn't even think about those two guys when we were talking about receiving for the Lions. They combined for 20 carries, 93 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And then in the passing game, they combined for 16 receptions, 121 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So this team has fight and may not be the worst team in the division for long. Like, I don't know. Again, it's only week 1, but they did not look like the worst team in the division. They actually looked like the second best team in the division. Not going to lie. Maybe even the first best team in the division, but I won't go that far. We won't say that. We can't give the Lions fans that much. No. This game brought a smile to my face, man. This was the most enjoyable part of my Sunday afternoon. And of course, I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers playing the New Orleans Saints. The Green Bay Packers not only looked like the worst team in the NFC North, which is a bad division right now, but they looked like they have to be the worst team in football right now. Statistically, and just based on week 1, the Green Bay Packers are the worst team in football. Just based on week 1. But it feels so good saying those words. So good. And it's not even close. This Saints team does not have Drew Brees anymore. And Jameis Winston is no pushover. He hasn't been. He's always been a QB1, just sitting behind Drew Brees now. But now that he's finally getting his turn, you look at his stats, and if you don't even look at those touchdowns, Jameis Winston went 14 for 20, 148 yards. He didn't have any interceptions, that's incredible. For Jameis Winston to have no interceptions in a game, watch out NFL. But man, the dude threw 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns to no picks. I think Jameis Winston's LASIK surgery worked. At least that's the way it's looking right now. Alvin Kamara ran all over Green Bay and chewed a lot of clock, keeping Green Bay's offense on the sidelines. Just overall, great play calling by Sean Payton to keep Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines. Green Bay only had 3 first-half possessions, one of which was their 3-point field goal. So, wow, great job by Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints offense for keeping Rodgers off the field. And that got into his head, I think. Aaron Rodgers looks bad. I'll say it. He looks very bad. He looked like the worst quarterback in the division yesterday. And that's saying something because I hate Andy Dalton. Oh, that might not be that. That's not the take, Mr. Krabs. I don't hate Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's a nice guy, but he's a terrible quarterback. And I don't want him playing for the Bears. None of us want him playing for the Bears. Unless you're a Vikings, Packers, or Lions fan, then you want him. But for a guy that caused so much drama in the offseason, seeing him have his worst regular season game in 3 years is absolutely hilarious coming off an MVP season. Maybe he should have spent more time, preparing for 2021 and less time going back and forth with the Green Bay Packers front office. But 15 for 28, 133 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. When's the last time Aaron Rodgers ever had a game like that? I'm genuinely asking because I don't know the answer. When is the last time Aaron Rodgers had a game that bad? And things got so bad and out of hand that Matt LaFleur pulled him because, and I know why he pulled him. He pulled him because they didn't want to risk him getting hurt. But they put Jordan Love in. Like it was a preseason game. Abysmal. Absolutely brutal. And things I love to see. Not only could the Packers not get their passing game going, but the Saints defense was so good yesterday, Aaron Jones was a non-factor at all. Aaron Jones was held to 5 carries and 9 yards. That's it. For the guy that just signed the big extension with the Packers, that looks like a waste of money right now. Of course, it's not a waste of money. It's one game. It's one game. Everybody's going to say, oh, Ben, it's one game, blah, 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 blah. Well, I would be concerned if you're a Packers fan right now because the Saints team was not supposed to be this good. It wasn't supposed to be this good this year. So this is a cause for concern up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Next game, another 425 game. The Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. New England had this game in the bag, you guys. After the Tua pick on Miami's side of the field, I think it might have even been at the 50, all until Damian Harris fumbled the ball away at the Miami 11 and all but sealed it in a 1-point game. It was 17-16 Dolphins at this point, and that ended up being the final score. The Patriots, that's all they had to do was keep running the ball, and Harris couldn't hold on to it, which is brutal because Mac Jones looked good for the Patriots in his rookie debut. 29 for 39, 281 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, so that's great. Nelson Aguilar also looking great, having the 1 touchdown and having 72 yards. Plain and simple, though, the Dolphins should have lost this game. That early interception in the fourth quarter should have sent this team to 0-1 based on how well the Patriots were managing the clock and managing the game until the fumble. And I said it for the Vikings. I'm not going to blame this game on a fumble because I didn't blame it for the Vikings, so I won't do it for this one. The Patriots had other chances to win this football game. They just didn't capitalize. So you can't pinpoint one exact thing as a reason to lose a football game. You can never do that. And then Tua went 16 for 27, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, and of course that pick. Jalen Waddle reconnecting with former Alabama Crimson Tide teammate Tua in a great way. 4 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. And Miami got lucky taking advantage of the last-minute mistake made in the fourth quarter. Tua throws the pick, and then minutes later, New England fumbles the ball right back and gives it to Miami. That sucks, man. That sucks to lose the football game that way. When the other team practically hands you the ball game because of a mistake, to fumble it away like that, no pun intended, brutal. Absolutely brutal. Even if we don't like the Patriots here at First and Ben, that's unfortunate, man. That you just hate to see it. And I also do think, I talked about this earlier, I do think that the Patriots are also better with Mac Jones under center than Cam Newton. I think that Mac Jones just fits Bill Belichick's style of play better. I think Mac Jones is a better passer than Cam Newton. Now, rushing-wise, I think that Cam Newton's got Mac Jones beat 100%. But passing-wise, I think that Mac Jones is a much better passer. And I just would like to see Cam Newton get back with Ron Rivera. I really would like to see Cam Newton sign with the Washington football team this week. Because I think I know Cam Newton deserves another chance. He's not done yet. Come on. This is an MVP. Come on. Give him one more shot. Bring him back to Ron Rivera. Make things right. I'm sorry, Scott. The Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. 33-29 Chiefs. What a game. I did not see this outcome coming. I mean, I should have. It's the Chiefs. But Cleveland led 15-3 at one point in this one. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes does what Patrick Mahomes does. He comes out, he balls out, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then adding a rushing touchdown. So 4 TDs total, no picks. And then Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce just balled out as well. Tyreek Hill, 197 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. There's the reason Mahomes was able to get this team back in the game. Literally, there's your 3 touchdowns accounted for right there. And then, of course, later on in the game, and this sucks too because Baker looked great on paper. On paper, Baker Mayfield, 21 for 28, 321 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. I would take that. Especially the fact that Nick Chubb balled out 15 carries, 83 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It just sucks because Baker's 1 interception to Mike Hughes saved the game for the Chiefs at the very end of the game. It sucks because it came down to a bad throw by Baker. He didn't want to take the sack, man. Like he's running, and he just tries to get the ball to pick up the first down, and it goes right into Mike Hughes' hands to end the game. Just an absolutely brutal way to lose a football game, especially for the Cleveland Browns. And it sucks because this came in week 1, and there's a lot of hype in Cleveland. There's a lot of hype with Browns fans. I'm actually excited to experience this myself. Less than 2 weeks, myself, Scott, and Dylan, we're all going up to Cleveland for week 3 for the Bears and Browns game. And I'm excited to see Browns Nation. I'm excited to see how hyped not Cincinnati. I'm excited to see how hyped Cleveland is on game day this year. I consider this a special opportunity because this team has been bad for so freaking long. And I expect there to be this energy around the city of Cleveland that it's just going to be different this year. And I'm excited to get to experience that atmosphere. And it's also fun to see Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney play on the same defensive front. So that's pretty cool too. Going to be brutal for me, but it's going to be cool to see. Moving on to one of our last games. It was another 425 game. This game, I don't know what to say about this game since there were so many other better 425 games yesterday. It's forgettable. It's forgettable at best. I forgot that this game was even happening yesterday until they cut out of the CBS broadcast or Fox. I think this game was on Fox to the Fox broadcast and showed the end of this game. I forgot that it was even happening. Teddy Bridgewater looked good in his Denver debut. 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Denver fans are probably glad they didn't trade for Aaron Rodgers now after how yesterday's games panned out. Although I'm convinced that conspiracy theory that Aaron Rodgers is just trying to derail the Packers at this point as payback. Melvin Gordon showed that he can still play and is running back 1 for this team for now. He had 11 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. But Javonte Williams is waiting in the distance, man. He's there. He's right there because he got more carries. He had 14 carries. He just couldn't get it done. So Javonte Williams is coming. That's going to be a solid fantasy option. If you do not have Javonte Williams on your bench, trust me, tomorrow, go put a waiver in for him. Wednesday, go pick him up. He's going to be the starting running back here in Denver, probably within the next few weeks. And especially now with the fact that Jerry Jeudy is going to be sidelined for a few weeks. He was carted off the field in the third quarter last night, but we're now hearing it keeping up with the BS that his x-rays were negative and that the Broncos are just reporting that he's got a high ankle sprain. So it's not worst case scenario. It could sideline Jeudy a few weeks. We'll see what the official timeline is for that high ankle sprain injury, but it's not season ending, which is what everybody originally feared last night. So that's good news. That's really good news. Daniel Jones plays average at best and gets garbage time pity points. I don't like Daniel Jones. I don't think that he's the starting quarterback for the New York Giants future. I think that at this point, he's just a placeholder. I don't like Daniel Jones. I haven't liked Daniel Jones since he broke off for that big run last year and then tripped over his own damn feet. So I'm sorry, Giants fans. I'm friends with Giants fans, and I just feel bad for you guys. I really do. But Andy Dalton's my quarterback, so you guys can make fun of me right back. That's fine. Sterling Shepard is still the preferred target. He had 7 receptions, 113 yards, and Daniel Jones' garbage time touchdown pass. A little surprising considering the fact that newcomer Kenny Golladay, who balled out for the Lions in the receiving game, was targeted just 6 times, only caught 4 of them, and only had 64 yards. I would have liked to seen Golladay be more involved last night. And my biggest complaint about the New York Giants is where the hell was Saquon Barkley last night? What was Joe Judge thinking? Barkley was outrushed by Daniel Jones by 1 yard. Daniel Jones rushed 27 yards last night. Barkley ran the ball 10 times and only got 26 yards. That's 2.6 yards average. What even is that? He's the best running back in the NFC East. No discredit to Antonio Gibson or Ezekiel Elliott or Miles Sanders, but Saquon Barkley should be and is better than them. So I don't know if that's just the fact that Joe Judge is not a good head coach. I just think it's obvious that your best player needs to be more involved in the football game than getting the ball 10 times. I don't understand that. I just do not understand that. Oh, Lord have mercy on me. Now we get to the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, the Rams winning last night on primetime 34-14. Hear me out. Hear me out. I actually don't feel as bad about this one. I expected a lot worse from the Bears. I really did. I really didn't even expect the Bears to get 2 touchdowns. I was under the fear that we were going to get maybe a field goal and then a garbage time touchdown. But we got 2 meaningful touchdowns in this game, so I'll take that. It's the Rams. I didn't expect us to win it. 20 points is closer than I thought the game was going to be, if I'm being completely honest, which is really sad that I have to accept that as a Bears fan. The first drive was absolutely knocking me out of my seat. You know, you get that first pass from Andy Dalton that gets completed. You get David Montgomery who's bawling out, and I'm just on the edge of my seat. I'm standing up. I'm cheering. I'm almost touching the freaking roof. And then the Chicago Bears brought me back to earth with a classic Bears quarterback move, something that I have seen all throughout my life in big moments as soon as I'm excited. Andy Dalton throws an interception in the end zone. I wasn't even surprised. All I could do at that point was laugh because of how typical it was. And then the best part is, just after that, Matt Stafford throws an absolute bomb down the field, gets caught, receivers on the ground. Eddie Jackson just stares at the guy. That's all you have to do is put 2 hands on him. The guy is literally on the ground. This image is shared on the Keeping Up with the BS Facebook page, so go check it out. I'm sure you've seen it if you know what I'm talking about. That's all he had to do was touch the guy with 2 hands, and he would have been down. But instead, because Eddie Jackson doesn't know how to tackle, Eddie Jackson doesn't know how to end a play, because he's a ball hawk. Yeah, he's just a ball hawk. Okay, pal. Got paid, and now he's nothing. I'm sorry, Eddie Jackson. I don't mean to be taking my frustrations out on you, but you goofed. You done goofed last night. The guy gets up and waltzes right into the end zone. Early Rams 7-0 lead when it should have just been 7-0 Bears. This Bears secondary is not good at all. It's not. It is the clear weakness on what is otherwise a very good Bears defense. And this is the unit that is going to bring the team down all season long until it is addressed. And if Ryan Pace does not address this, then Ryan Pace is going to be judged for this. You may have just gotten quarterback right, but because you made a stupid decision to sign Robert Quinn to a big contract, you had to cut Kyle Fuller over money. A Pro Bowl cornerback who's now in Denver, we had to let him go because of money, because we decided to give Robert Quinn way too much. First off, he's not even that good. Two defense 101 misplays, and the fact that there's the other image of the Rams receiver all the way downfield and 3 Bears guys like 20 yards behind him. It looks like a freaking punt. That ended in 7 points. So the 2 misplays that resulted in 14 free points for the Rams. And then you combine that with Matt Nagy's decision-making, also coming back to bite us in the ass. And okay, let me clear that up a little bit. Matt Nagy called a better game offensively last night than he has the last 2 seasons. So there's improvement there. What I cannot get behind is Matt Nagy's constant obsession last night with going for it on 4th down. And we did that 4 times last night. The last time it was just a complete joke. 4th and 15 and we're going for it. That was stupid. But 3 of those decisions, the other 3 times the Bears were in field goal range, he could have opted to use Cairo Santos, the first Bears quarterback that we've actually liked in Chicago since Robbie Gould. In fact, we just signed him to an extension, didn't even use him in any of those situations, which could have got us potentially 9 more points. So at that point, you're talking about being down only 4 points instead of 13 and it being a 2-score game going into the 4th quarter. The Bears were in a position to win this game. There is a realistic universe out there where the Bears should have won this game, and it could have been this one. So it's just decision making and 2 really bad defensive mess ups. That's why I'm not upset with the end of the result of this game. I'm not too terribly. It's not like we got our asses kicked, because if you watched this football game, the Bears played better than that score indicates. They did. They messed up twice, and Matt Nagy should have kicked the ball instead of going for it 3 times. That's it. What I didn't understand was the limited use of Justin Fields last night. I think what really threw me for a whirlwind was Matt Nagy throwing Justin Fields into the game on the first drive for the 3rd play of the game, and then kept him on the sidelines, except, for situationally. I didn't understand that. If you're not going to commit to the kid, why are you putting him in? He can't get anything going consistency-wise, and that's what you need to play quarterback in this game. You need to get consistency to get to where you get that one good drive. One play every 12 minutes doesn't do anything for the kid. And then he used him for a single 2-yard shovel pass late in the game. That was stupid. Why? You're telling me Andy Dalton can't flip the ball on a little shovel pass? Come on. It literally, this game, not even the game, the way that Justin Fields was used last night, like I said, it had no consistency. And it honestly looked like Matt Nagy was just throwing him in there for the fact that he could talk about it in his post-game presser when the media asked him, why didn't Justin Fields play tonight? He could say, oh, he did. He was out there, like 5 or 6 plays? That's why he was out there. So Matt Nagy had a scapegoat. It's also really worth noting that while Andy Dalton did not have any way of contributing a touchdown to this game for the Bears, Justin Fields did. Justin Fields did manage a 3-yard rushing touchdown in the 3rd quarter, which brought this game closer than it was. At this point, the Bears were only down 13 when Justin Fields scored that touchdown. I don't know why we didn't keep the kid in the ballgame. Justin Fields gives you the best opportunity to win this football game, and you keep him on the sidelines. That's horrific. That's just horrific as a Bears fan, because Justin Fields is not afraid of the opponent or the opponent's players, but Matt Nagy is. And Matt Nagy threw Andy Dalton out there because he was scared of the Rams defense. Plain and simple. Andy Dalton, I've done enough dumping on him in this podcast today. Andy Dalton was actually pretty okay last night, but uncharacteristically bad defense from Chicago overshadowed it. That's just what happened last night. Andy Dalton went 27 for 38. He threw for over 200 yards, no touchdowns, and of course, the only one interception on that first drive. So it's comebackable, especially that early in the game. What sucks though is that this Rams defense is that good. They were able to keep Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, Chicago's top 2 receivers, ineffective. They were held ineffective all night. Robinson, 6 receptions, 35 yards, no TDs. Mooney, 5 receptions, 26 yards, no touchdowns. And it's not even that Dalton wasn't throwing them the ball. He threw the ball toward Allen Robinson 11 times and he only caught it 6 times. He threw the ball toward Darnell Mooney 7 times. He only caught it 5 times. So I can't blame that on Andy Dalton. That's just how well LA's secondary is. The Rams secondary is very good. It's just the Bears isn't. If we have to pick a offensive MVP as a Bears fan for the Bears last night, just MVP of the game for the Bears, David Montgomery. Wow, is this kid really freaking good? I haven't been excited about a running back in Chicago like this since Matt Forte. Matt Forte was a stud. This kid's better, I think. I think David Montgomery's better than Matt Forte. I'll say it. He proved why. Matt Nagy finally commits to David Montgomery. Gives him 16 carries, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. I would like to see that carry number go up. I don't see any reason why we need to get Damian Williams more touches than he needs to. There were times last night, yes, Dave Montgomery exited to the locker room to get his finger looked at. I'm not sure we ever found out what was going on with that. But David Montgomery needs to carry the ball 20 times plus a game. He just has to. He's too good to not get the ball. He is right now with Justin Fields on the sidelines. Even with Allen Robinson in the game, David Montgomery is the best offensive player on the Chicago Bears. And I've done a lot of talking about the Bears on this game. And I mean, I'm trying not to be biased, so I'm going to get away from that. Matthew Stafford looked very good last night. And
as someone that has just absolutely as someone of a fan of a team that has also absolutely wrecked the Lions consistently throughout the last however long this man has been in the league, it's nice to finally see him have a good team around him, because Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback. He deserves to play for a good team, and he's getting that here. He threw 20 for 26, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. Cooper Kupp looks like his favorite target, 7 receptions on 10 targets, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Good for Matt Stafford. Just congratulations to the Rams. You guys played a great game. The Rams look very good. I am not sure I'm sold on Super Bowl aspirations, but it is possible. Your division is also very good. But right now, if I'm picking a best team in the NFC West right now, I am picking the Arizona Cardinals. Hot take. An extremely, extremely, extremely potentially hot take, which could be a cold take, maybe. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. Aaron Donald looked really bad last night. I'm pausing because I'm letting you call me a dumbass, an idiot, stupid. I'm just letting you get that all out right now, so I'll wait a minute. Okay. The reason I say that Aaron Donald looked really bad last night was because he was held ineffective by a bad Chicago offensive line. There's no studs on Chicago's offensive line. Are you kidding me? Jason Peters at 39 years old, guess what? He left injured. Larry Borum, 5th-round pick, his backup, guess what? Injured, left the game. We went down to our 3rd-string left tackle. And I know Donald lines up on the inside, but we have a beat-up offensive line. Come on. We don't have any Pro Bowlers on our offensive line. You're telling me Aaron Donald was held ineffective all night? That doesn't seem right. Aaron Donald had 3 tackles last night, 1 solo. He assisted on 2 of them. And then he had 1 sack in garbage time at the end of the game. I was actually really upset when Matt Nagy decided to go for it on 4th and 15, because that was the one that Aaron Donald got the sack on. And I had the tweet written that Aaron Donald had no sacks tonight until that happened. I was getting ready to that just sucks, man. But 1 sack in garbage time. On prime time, Aaron Donald did not impress me last night. I'm sorry. So maybe we can pump the brakes on those defensive players, the player of the year talks, because right now, Chandler Jones looks like a lot better option than Aaron Donald. And of course, it's only week 1. It's only week 1. That's my hot take for week 1. Aaron Donald looked bad last night, which everybody can have a bad game, but everybody dumps on Khalil Mack. I would just like to point out that Aaron Donald looked bad last night as well. Of course, since we are making the switch for First and Ben to Mondays instead of Tuesdays, this means that we're not going to be covering the Monday Night Football game. So we are just going to preview it. We'll give keys to the game, and that's pretty much all we can do, because I can't predict the future. I can't tell you what's going to happen tonight. But Baltimore Ravens keys to the games. If they're going to beat the Raiders, Lamar has to throw for over 200 yards. You're down to RB4 before you even play a snap in a regular season game is damning for any team with contending aspirations like the Ravens. This sucks, especially with how good the Browns have showed that they are going to be this year. And now with how good the Bengals and the Steelers look. I'm concerned if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I'm not going to lie. The other 3 teams in my division look really damn good. You better hope that one of these running backs you just signed works out, or you're going to need Lamar Jackson to step up his passing game. And of course, someone steps up in the secondary is the other key to the game, because Marcus Peters is an influential defensive back that Baltimore has suddenly had to replace at the same time as all these running backs. So if you're John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh's at Michigan. If you're John Harbaugh, next man up has to be this team's mantra moving forward. And it sucks that it's only week 1. Like, that's just unfortunate, man. Keys to the game for the Las Vegas Raiders. If you're going to beat the Ravens on Monday Night Football, you have to feed Darren Waller. He is the best receiver on this team, and he's a dominant tight end. He's got to get the looks. He's got to get the points. And Derek Carr's just got to find him and make some magic happen. Otherwise, the other key to the game is you got to let Josh Jacobs cook. Make Baltimore's defense stop you and take advantage of the run game. Or mix it up. Feed Waller and let Josh Jacobs cook. Put together a complete game. Don't be one-dimensional. I like Vegas in the upset tonight. I like the Vegas Raiders in the upset tonight. So something new that I'm going to be doing for First and Ben this year, just because, like I said earlier in the show, my schedule is becoming very inconsistent, but I usually keep Mondays free. So that is the reason for the day change of this show, of this podcast. Tuesdays, however, we will still be having content on Tuesdays. I'm proud to announce that we will be releasing for the first time power rankings. We'll be doing all 32 teams. Will be based on the weeks prior, as soon as we get deeper into the season as well. Tuesday will be devoted to the release of my power rankings, just like I'm doing for college football on Sundays. My NFL top 32 will go from 1 to 32, best teams to worst teams. Those are going to be coming out on Tuesdays. So that is going to do it for First and Ben for week 1. A lot of great football, a lot of interesting football, and a lot of just football. Until week 2, keep watching football. Keep devoting your Sundays and Saturdays to watching college football, NFL football, because we get it back. It was a scary time last year. We didn't have fans in the stands. We get that back this year. Just be grateful the game is back. Again, another huge shout out to who could be our official sponsor someday, but the unofficial sponsor, Busch Light. This is how First and Ben enjoys their Sunday afternoons, their Saturday afternoons, watching all those games, watching all those spreads, rooting for the over-unders, rooting for our Chicago Bears with a nice cold Busch Light. Can't go wrong with that. We'll see you guys next week.